Now, on the final day of the Future Investment Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Arise business correspondent Rotus Oddiri held a detailed technology panel discussion with 3 young Nigerian players in the fintech space. The topics range from Nigeria's Money Point joining the $1 billion valuation club to Saudi Arabia embracing technology as part of its economic diversification drive. Let's have a look.
It is Arise News here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the Future Investment Initiative, the 8th edition. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been looking forward to this particular discussion. We've got 3 incredibly brilliant Africans, 3 brilliant Nigerians, 3 brilliant founders, 3 brilliant players in the tech space that are going to be talking to us about what they've seen so far, and then we're going to get into their fields where they're all respectively playing, which is fintech, and a lot to discuss. So let me start on my left. Segun Adeyemi, co-founder, CEO over at Anchor. To my right, we've got Ekene Agu. She is the founder and CEO of Peppermint, and of course, further to my right, Maxwell Obi, who is the CEO of Waza. 3 of you are welcome. Thank you so much for talking to Arise News. Great to have you guys. All right. So why are you here? I'm going to start with, we'll go around like this. So start with Segun. Are you all here, to take in the sights and sounds of Saudi Arabia, or is it to network, or is it for the money because of the Arab money? So Segun, why are you here?
Wow. Thanks a lot, Rotus, for having me. So I've been fortunate to be invited by the Prince Khalid Al Saud, who happens to be one of our investors through Build Ventures. So he invited us here. He said I should come see what it is. And interestingly, upon getting here, I actually found out that some of our other investors are here. Fantastic. So it's been very interesting. I came here to, this is my first time in Riyadh. So I actually came here to set the space and, of course, meet more investors, because I understand that, and I've seen that a lot of investors are here from America, from Europe, from Africa, from all over the world. And also just to learn about the ecosystem. There's a lot happening here. A lot of the conversation has been about AI. So it's been a lot to take in. It's been, a very beautiful ambience. So yes, we are here for the money, but beyond the money also is just, to learn and get a sense of the experience and just, connect with amazing people.
Very diplomatic, and you told the truth. Thank you. Thank you. Ekene, why are you here?
I'm not here for the money.
Okay, all right.
For the impact. No. So as he said, we all are portfolio companies of Build Ventures, and our investor graciously invited us. But in addition to the money, the networking, which is honestly insane, one of the things I was super excited about is just the lineup.
Right.
The caliber of people here has genuinely been overwhelming. So I studied economics, and literally the people I studied, basically the men who made the last half century of macroeconomics were all here debating the next half century of macroeconomics. So I've just been taking it in, just trying to not fangirl too hard.
Right.
I've been telling everyone the way you guys react to Beyonce?
Right.
That's how I'm reacting. It's like David Rubenstein, Fink, Schwartzman, and I'm just oh my God.
Yeah, I get you.
So yeah. The money.
Yeah.
The culture, just, all that good stuff, but also just the caliber of this whole production has just been insane.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. I studied economics as well, so right now,
okay,
good.
So
you're the only one left out. But look,
I'm the tech guy.
Maxwell, you're doing
computer science.
You see, heavy stuff. Maxwell, why are you here as well?
Great. Okay, well, not to take on the economic view, but we all have the same investors. So we have portfolio companies of Build Ventures, and they invited us to this event. And for me, I'm here because, as an entrepreneur, you have to, continue to seek out where the trends in terms of technology, where investors are looking at. And all that, I'm here to build that network, to actually speak to investors, meet other entrepreneurs, right? Get a sense of, because just being here for the past few days gives you the sense that the world is just a global village, right? There's a whole lot of potential for cross-collaboration across different markets, across different industries. And I'm here to explore that, right? But also looking for the money, I'm here to meet investors. Yes, computer science guy, but yes, also by virtue of what we do in being in payments, it's important that we made great partners, bank partners, other entrepreneurs, and investors that can invest in the next stage of growth in emerging markets. And basically, that's why I'm here.
See, I don't know, we'll get to Nigeria, but there's something to be said. You are 3 well-educated people, so we'll get to that in a moment. Second, I'll start again from you, Segun. I want to get a sense from you 3 of what you make of Saudi Arabia's attempts to diversify away from oil and its embrace of technology, Segun.
That's something I've been thinking a lot about. For me, it speaks to the power of vision. You know, when you look at what they've been able to do with the oil money, and the fact that there's an understanding that it is not going to continue to flow forever. So there's a deliberate attempt to invest in the future. I mean, the bulk of the conversation today has been about future technology, clean energy, sustainable growth, artificial intelligence. It's been a major one. So for me, that deliberate attempt to diversify, because you understand that the future is going to be driven by technology. And the leaders in this region, they understand that if they are going to be able to participate in this changing global world, they need to be able to attract the ecosystem of the future, attract the technology, the investors, the thinkers, the innovators of the future. So for me, it's very impressive. I'm impressed with that level of vision. I'm impressed with the level of investment that they're making. Even just putting together a platform like this, a production like this, I can imagine how expensive it must have been. So, and if you look at the growth that the region has witnessed over the last, say, 30, 50 years, and the way they're projecting into the future, it just tells you that there are people who are thinking, there are people who are visionary, and there's an expectation even from the youth in this environment of their leaders. So for me, that has been the big thing, the power of vision and the deliberateness of the attempt to make sure that they can participate competitively and sustainably in the future has been like one of the biggest takeaway for me in just, what I'm seeing in that transition from oil to technology.
Fantastic. Can I?
Okay, first of all, you got to stop starting with Segun because his answers are so good, like really hard to follow.
Okay.
But,
all right, I might rotate the other way.
Yeah, thanks. But to heavily piggyback, no, I mean just like very spot on response. I'm very bullish on the region, and Saudi too. So this is actually not my first time in Riyadh. I came 2 years ago, and but the friend I was visiting was telling me that just 3 years before I came, I would not have been able to visit Saudi, right? Because at that time, or before all of this progress that's happened in literally less than 10 years, less than 7, I think it's like 5 years, single women couldn't visit as tourists, right? So when I look at what has been done in literally such a short time, right? I can't be but optimistic. I can't be but bullish, right? They have the vision, they have the resources, right? So
Money.
like what's gonna get in their way? Yeah, so let's do it. Let's see where it goes.
Maxwell.
Yeah, great. So I think the biggest thing for me is the contrast, the dichotomy between Saudi and Nigeria, right? Because I mean, we're all from an oil-producing country as well.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, different levels. Anyways, but I mean, it's important that this is an emphasis on the fact that Nigeria also has to think about that diversification away from a single resource-dependent economy, right? And when we think about technology, it's just not about AI. Maybe we are at this place where we should, maybe it's not, AI is also like a technology of the future, but let's even take a step back. We're thinking about agri-tech, right? We're thinking about financial services. We're thinking about healthcare, insurtech, right? There's a lot of diversification that can happen in Nigeria today. And so the biggest takeaway for me with what Saudi is doing, this power of vision, is like we need to go back home and actually begin to think from that visionary lens, from that visionary standpoint as well, right? We are entrepreneurs. Where's the world trending towards, and what can we do to actually diversify our economy, right? Oil is not going to, I mean, there's a lot of sessions on renewable energy.
Exactly.
But before we even get to renewable energy, there's a lot of fundamental technology that needs to be in place, and we need to build towards that as well. And so that's the biggest takeaway for me from Saudi's diversification.
Great stuff. Yeah. All right, so Segun, bear with me. So now I'm gonna ask all three of you. I'll start with Ekene. I want you also to sell your market. I want to know what each of you. So what does Peppermint do?
Okay, so Peppermint, we're building modern infrastructure for cards. Basically answering the question of if we built offline, so in-person payments today, what would it look like, right? And so we're basically giving, different types of businesses, schools, organizations, the tools to be able to develop payment card programs, to deepen their relationships with their customers, to have more control over their finances and the payment experience, and to really grow their revenue and their businesses. So that's Peppermint in a nutshell. You can basically launch a card program in literally minutes, and without all the headache of what today running card programs involves, like needing a sponsor bank, a lot of fees, USD denominated, commitments, things like that. So we're simplifying it.
Fantastic. Okay, Segun, I'll come to you. What does Anchor do?
Yeah, thank you. So at Anchor, we're building a banking infrastructure for African businesses and emerging market businesses. And in some climes, it's called embedded finance. So what that means in very simple terms is we are a bank and a payment platform, but we do it in a different way whereby we offer APIs to other businesses so that they can do simple things like they can hold wallets in their ecosystem. They can allow people move money, send money locally, internationally. They can issue cards, similar to what Ekene just described, to their customers, all within their own ecosystem. So there are a lot of businesses that are not banks, but they have a payments use case in their ecosystem. They have a reason to hold customers' deposits, and they don't need to invest in all of that banking infrastructure. So they work with companies like us, and then we enable them to be able to do that. So today we work with some of the fastest growing leading fintech companies in the region. I mean, even companies like Waza are companies that we work with. Some of the fintech arm of MTN is also our partner. So we partner a couple of the big B2B businesses in Nigeria, and now we're expanding into Morocco. We're expanding into Ghana. And of course, now that I'm here in Saudi as well, one of the things that I've been speaking to my investors about and just exploring and meeting people about is also about how do we find bank partners so that we can expand into this market as a start, and maybe even over time, become a licensed bank here, and then we can serve the digitally enabled businesses who need access to payment and banking infrastructure to be able to properly serve their customers. So in a nutshell, that's what we do, but we're majorly focused on the Nigerian market for now and expanding from there.
I always love asking founders what they do. You guys, the passion is really there.
I must say,
Maxwell Waza,
I like the name Anchor because it feeds into you're building the anchor for financial services,
Exactly.
But wait, you should say this. Everyone thought he was an anchor, a TV anchor.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the media presence here, I'm like, are you an anchor? I'm like, no, that's the name of my company.
Yeah. And another fun fact, Segun used to be my co-founder for a previous fintech that we founded and then sold to Carbon called Amplify.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had co-founded the company together. And now we work together in a different
capacity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does Waza do, right? We are a B2B payment and global banking platform for emerging market businesses, right? So we're helping businesses in emerging markets to make global payments. You need to pay for an invoice, you need to pay your vendors, you need to manage your treasury, you need FX liquidity. We're providing you multi-currency accounts, we're providing you FX liquidity, financing, to be able to conduct business globally, right? We've started with Nigeria, we're operational in Ghana as well, and we've grown, right? We've raised funding from institutional investors. We were part of YC. And we have we've been able to solve a key pain point for big businesses. So today we have the very big, fast consumer goods manufacturing companies, FMCGs, airlines, even some banks as clients across different markets that really depend on us in the context of reliability, right? Because when you think about global payments, it's usually in the context of trade, right? And when you're paying for goods and services, you want it to be delivered quickly, and you need payment to get to the destination quickly as well. And you need it to be cheap and affordable. And we've been able to solve that, right, at scale. Maybe not at scale, because we're still scaling. We're still a young startup, but that's what we do, right? That's what Waza doing in a nutshell.
Fantastic.
Right.
All right, I want to talk about exits, and one particular exit that made big news across the world, and that is, of course, Money Point, which is a player in the same space as they are, raising $110 million at a valuation of over $1 billion. So that is the latest unicorn in this space. Have to get reactions from you three. Maxwell, starting with you.
Super excited about that raise. I feel like it should that money, some part of it should probably come to our startup. But no. Just to get serious, they raised that money at over $1 billion valuation now, and it's a very positive signal to the ecosystem and its maturity. But I think the point I just really want to drive is I actually don't and this might be controversial, but
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a true valuation of money point.
So
I think
it should be higher or lower?
I should be higher, way higher.
Okay.
Oh no, look, money point has evolved to become like almost the anchor to financial services in Nigeria, like a fundamental infrastructure that is key. So they have, from last I looked into them, over 800,000 POS terminals doing $12 billion in monthly payment volume. Even if their take rate is 0. I'm a bit passionate.
Right,
Even if their take rate is 0.1%, that's what, almost $150 million in revenue. Then think about that in context of multiples. If MoneyPoint was probably a US company, would they be worth $1 billion today? Right? And so I think it's now, okay, that's me. That's me just channeling it away from what I think about their race. But I think honestly, it's a good thing for the ecosystem. And I really, really love the fact that it shows that fintech it's part of what we are talking about, fintech guzzling up a lot of investments, and that's a good signal to the ecosystem.
Thank you, Maxwell. Ekene?
Yeah, so first of all, congratulations to MoneyPoint and the whole team. Just incredibly proud of them. I think, so I've always been like super excited about, excited is the wrong word, just like in awe, impressed, right? Because I travel to different regions of Nigeria sometimes, mostly. By different regions, I mean my village. And I remember when I started seeing MoneyPoint POSs outside of Lagos and in other parts of Nigeria, because, you know, fintech sometimes can kind of be a bubble, right? A lot of our services are being consumed by people and companies in Lagos. And so as I started to travel, like go on trips and notice that, you know, distinctive blue terminal, I'm like, okay, these guys are doing something. But when I knew it was like game over, or was when I actually went to like an RSVP type restaurant in Lagos, and even they were using it. And I was like, these guys are really doing something here. And I think the main really exciting thing for me, the reason I would bet on MoneyPoint, right? Because again, with devaluation and what that means about the cost of terminals and regulation on what you can even charge for in-person payments, that can sometimes, that can make things difficult. But I think they've done such an incredible job at that distribution network. So now they can literally do anything, right? Like these guys have agents and individuals across the 36 states, right, that are plugged into their network. And so now it's just a question of like, what do we want to do? And now they have $110 million. So I think that over the next, the coming years, MoneyPoint will probably become like one of the biggest banks. Proper bank. I think they'll get a license. I think there'll be a real like digital but full-blown bank, like from MFB to commercial. Sky's
the limit. Sky's the limit. Segun, your thoughts on this?
I'm gonna try to keep it brief. The first thing is shout out to the team. I think the ecosystem doesn't appreciate MoneyPoint enough. They don't get as much buzz as they deserve. You know, a lot of people don't know that MoneyPoint was actually one of the underdogs. There was a time during the team up days where they were not necessarily the cool guys. You know, I mean, pardon me for saying that, but that's just the truth. You know, so they put their head down. The business has evolved significantly. So a big shout out to Tosin and the MoneyPoint team. I think they've done an amazing job, and congratulations to them on the raise. Like they said, it's just, despite the macros, despite the challenges of the market, largely MoneyPoint is still a Nigerian business. But despite it all, they've been able to constantly, you know, improve their services, grow, and this raise is just a testament to the amount of work and the amount of the opportunity that exists. And I agree with Maxwell.
Segun, when I look at the categories, and I look at, you know, VC money and, you know, investment money coming in for tech on the continent, fintech just gobbles up everything. I'm personally biased towards health tech, and, you know, there was a founder here that had this AI thing that screens your face that tells you your health vitals, but it goes on. Does this speak to, well, I want the three of you to tell me why fintech gobbles up so much money in investment, starting with you.
Wow. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said, but I'll try to keep it brief and very practical. So the first thing is money follows opportunity. And money, the kind of capital that fintech has also been attracting, is the kind of capital that understands the fintech space. Because there's a lot to be done in Africa, but, you know, you have to also look at what do you understand. The payment space and the fintech space in Nigeria, which is the market, the primary market for all of us and across the continent, is still one of the most mature and most developed and biggest opportunity to like still solve problems, even though people feel like everybody is doing fintech and payment is solved and this is solved. But when you look at the dimensions and you look at the opportunity size, it is very difficult to ignore. And this is not unique to Nigeria. Even globally, if you look at the way, despite the markdown, apart from AI, fintech and payment is still one of the leading categories that attracts investment globally. And that's just because the level of commerce and trade in Nigeria and globally has increased significantly. So there are different dimensions to payments. There's the cross-border part. There's the local part that has multiple dimensions. There's B2B payments. There's consumer payment. There's peer-to-peer. There's agency banking. So when people say payment is solved, I just look at it like, if you really understand the ecosystem from a merchant standpoint, from a bank standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, from a small business standpoint, from a big business standpoint, you will see that there are different permutations of how to approach the payment problem that still exist. And let's not be deceived. In Nigeria today, less than 50%, just over 50% of the population is actually banked. And even among the, in quotes, overbanked, what kind of financial services do we have access to? A lot of us can make payments, but can you get access to mortgage? Can you get access to even, can you get a car loan? How many people have credit cards? Basic credit cards, there are less than 1 million credit cards in the whole of Nigeria. For the longest time, it was about 50,000. It now took a lot of effort. Some people started doing different things. And even at that, we're not seeing the adoption. So just to come back to why fintech, it is because it is the place where we've seen the biggest exits. It's the place where we've seen the biggest scale-ups. It's the place where there's maturity of talent. Yeah. So if you look at even the banking sector in Africa, it's one of the few areas where the biggest banks in Nigeria are run mostly by Nigerians. So the experience is there. People come from the banking sector, from the financial services sector, and start payments companies, that start fintech companies. So we have the skill, we have the experience, we have the knowledge, we have the exposure. And then it's something that the investors that are looking at Africa also understand. So it makes it an easy sell. It makes it an easier conversation. And it's also something that there's an opportunity for full digitization. So you're not looking at, as much physical infrastructure. You're not as dependent on, government to drive all of it, even though there's the regulatory side. But it's something that, there's precedent of it being navigated by the financial services industry, now by the mature fintechs. And we're seeing that cascade into like the kind of fundraise, which I'm sure, we will get to. Yeah. So it's not, I think it will continue for a while. It is not to say other sectors should not also get their own fair share, but it's just the uniqueness of that space, the size of the opportunity, the problems that are still available to be solved, and the quality of the entrepreneurs that are participating in that space makes it one of the most attractive destinations for capital. And
Ekene, what are your thoughts on fintech?
So I think there are two things I think driving it. I think number one, payments underlie and
everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Everything.
Right.
So across sectors and across human life, I actually see payments as a form of communication. Right. Yeah, I think it's a language. It's how you convey value.
Right.
And so I think that if you think about your average day, right, whether it be the power that your home is running on, the ingredients you bought to make your meals with, the bills you have to pay, right? Like it's just like financial interactions underlie literally every human interaction at every level, from interpersonal to governmental, right? So that's number one. So there are just so many permutations of what you can build and what needs to solve and how much pain it causes, right? Because the financial services also underlie the business's ability to provide its own services, right? So it's important to businesses that their payments or financial issues are solved. Yeah. So the demand is there from them, and it's important to individuals too. The second part, I think that is a huge part, and you alluded to it. I think payments is the closest thing to pure tech on the continent, right? So if you're going to do logistics, you have to deal with roads. Right. You have to deal with the government. Right. If you're going to do healthcare, you have to deal with supply of talent, doctors, nurses. Right. You have to deal with infrastructure, right? If you're going to do sports, do you have stadiums, right? But if you're going to do payments, you build the digital product, and you put it in the hands of users, right? Whether it be via laptops or desktops to businesses or mobile phones to consumers.
Yeah.
So there's just so much less friction to building financial services products, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are, for me, like the two biggest drivers.
All right. Maxwell, join in.
I think they both have said a lot,
Yeah.
and probably the only thing I'm just going to add is that we do, just coming from an economic standpoint, we have a large young population that is tech savvy. And so what this means is that there's a demand for digital financial services, and we also have businesses growing, which means that there's a demand for improved infrastructure, right? And so, like with what Segun was talking about, like the underserved and even overserved, right? There's different dimensions. And if you think about people that are tech savvy, that are young people that's like at scale, then there's a lot of things to solve for them. Among those large group of people, there are a bunch of them that are underserved, and we need to provide services that can, bank them. And for the overserved people, we need to find verticals that would interest them to come to also use other financial services, right? Case in point, credit, insurtech, and I can't really buttress more because it's all been said, but there's a large populace that still needs, and I think honestly, like we have is mature infrastructure in Nigeria, right? With the likes of NIVs, we cracked instant payments in Nigeria a long time ago. But because businesses are also evolving, building different verticals, there's agency banking, there's what Peppermint is building, which is like a card network, and different aspects, it means that we need to build new infrastructure, right? Like there's a maturity, which was also driving the fact that we can build these financial services and attract investments. But then it just says that these businesses are now also growing and they need new type of services, right? And so when investors look at that, it's like, okay, the fundamental what you would have called a barrier from a national infrastructure level, case in point NIBS, is already there. And then we have the entrepreneurs with the exposure and expertise, people that have done it before and want to do it again and very brilliant. There's an opportunity for them to capitalize on, right? And so that's why they will throw some money in. But I must also highlight, so let's not just get carried away with the fact that we're attracting a lot of investment. I must also highlight that investment is not enough.
It's
right?
not all.
You need more investment.
Need more investments.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you take a step back and think about the metrics and like the distribution of funding, yes, fintech still has the major share. But if you drill down to Nigeria, it's not comparable to like what's happening in the other part of the world, right? And so we need to do our job right, get more success stories, more exits.
Yep.
Love the new investments that probably will get to and the exits that happen in the ecosystem to also give investors confidence that not only we have the demography or the customer base and the expertise and the infrastructure, but that we also have successes, right? We also have what it takes to build a world-class company, right? And to attract more investment.
Very quickly, crypto. I have to, everybody talks about crypto. We're talking about payment. Let me just get quick thoughts from each of you. Ekene, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies? Just give me your honest thoughts. Just tell me what you think about it. I need honest thoughts from everybody on crypto. Go ahead.
To the moon.
Yeah?
I'm bullish on crypto.
You are?
Yeah, I think, so look, the way I see it, it's like AI. It's like the net rush, the internet rush in the 90s into the 2000s. When new technology comes, people are, like, as you would expect, they're afraid of it, right? Because initially, when something is new, the lack of sort of sufficient context creates opportunities for, they might not be bad actors, but just for a lot of like, there's high risk, right? So a lot of people make a ton of money, a lot of people lose a ton of money. But what you have to look at is the fundamental technology. So I'm bullish on crypto because of blockchain, right? Okay. So like blockchain is going to revolutionize, right? The infrastructure of how we build things online. That's that one. That's less. I don't think that's controversial. Right. And so I think then that's one. And I think the second thing I was going to say on why I'm bullish on crypto is, I think what we will see that might be surprising is that with a lot of crypto the adoption I think might pick up more in actually less developed countries, because I think we are the ones dealing the most with, devaluation and unstable currencies and things like that. And I think as the idea of stable coins, right, continues to grow, we might start to see people attempt to do that in places like Nigeria, Africa, and then you see kind of retail customers start to move their transacting to some of those assets. So, I mean, long story short, I'm bullish. Yeah. You know.
So, again, my additional question, it's going to be for you two as well. So, would you be optimized for it whenever, if going forward with Peppermint be
one of my most exciting use cases?
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. So, same for you. What your thoughts on crypto, and then would Anchor be able to accommodate it going forward, depending on how things develop?
Yeah. Yeah. Ekene has actually said everything. Yeah. I would just buttress the fact that I'm also super bullish because we are now get regulated as an entity. We are also paying special attention to the position of the regulator around it in the territories that we operate. So we're trying to also provide a bit of like even education, putting our own thoughts around how we think the use cases can be better guarded or better regulated or guidelines and things like that. But in terms of our readiness, today, we already have a lot of product lines that are, with blockchain, with crypto, particularly stablecoin, would be, will make a lot of, will be significantly better than the way they are designed right now because they're better suited. So we're just playing it from a perspective of we are going to be very careful, but at the same time, we are ready to go. And I'm super, super bullish. Okay. So I don't want to repeat all of the things that she said. It's either we're bullish or not. Right. I am convinced that there would be a role for crypto, particularly in the payments, in the global payment ecosystem in the next couple of years. That's with or without Nigeria, or with or without Africa. That is a reality. Gotcha. You're in cross-border, so your quick thoughts on crypto.
Interested. So one thing I'm going to point to before I give you a direct answer is there's this company called Bridge that was just acquired for $1.1 billion by Stripe. And they are just a purely stablecoin infrastructure. Like just give you APIs to on-ramp stablecoin and off-ramp stablecoin, right? And they've been in existence for just 2.5 years, right? And that's a signal to the entire crypto narrative. But if you even look at crypto as a bucket, right, there's different type of cryptos. There's like the Bitcoin, there's stable. I am very, very bullish, that's my direct answer, on crypto and stablecoin specifically, and being in cross-border payment. We have, in fact, Bridge is a partner of ours, and we have, we've seen that stablecoin is easily become a medium of exchange, right? It's become a transmission tool for currencies, right? And you will see this becoming even more, and even governments adopting it. Governments in emerging markets with a lot of volatility, right? They would adopt stablecoin as a way to hedge and as a way to like just transmit money from point A to point B. And I also want to commend what the SEC is doing in Nigeria by providing a regulatory sandbox.
Yes.
So yes. I was. Shout out to the regulators.
Exactly.
I mean, it ties back to the maturity of the infrastructure and in Nigeria, right?
Yep.
And so we are also paying attention to it. We have some bit of if I'm ready, because I know that will be your question. Yes, we already have. I would say some tentacles. That's the way I'm going to.
You want to disclose?
Exactly. Some bit of tentacles. That's the word I'm going to use. So if you want to dig into that word, meet me after this.
Look, guys, my producer, I could have held you guys here for an hour. There's still so much to talk to, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. I'm going to have each of you individually on the Global Business Report on Arise News in the future. I want to thank you all, Segun Adeyemi of Anchor, Ekene Agu of Peppermint, Maxwell Obi of Waza. Thank you so much for this fantastic conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm just upset we've run out of time, but we'll continue the conversation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, that's here from Riyadh, the Future Investment Initiative. Fantastic talking to these African Nigerian founders, inspiring so many across the world. More on technology in the future. Stay tuned.